Okay, so we're both really busy right now and we're both in launches.
Yeah.
How are you feeling?
I'm actually feeling the most balanced that I've felt yet when it comes to launches, even though I am launching and managing 3 things all at once and I just moved. And I think in large part that is due to the incredible systems that we've built together, which I'm so excited to talk about today.
Yeah, I know. Me too. I feel like we both have been texting. We're like, we're doing so much, but we both feel really good.
Yeah, and there's so much wisdom that we are bringing to today's conversation. We're going to be talking about the biggest mistakes that we have seen and made when it comes to launching. We've both supported a lot of entrepreneurs. I know I've supported some big entrepreneurs in 3 timesing their income. And we're also going to be talking about the best tips that we have when it comes to launching. And I think that this is something that over the last year, you and I have co-refined together. So I'm super excited to talk about it.
Yes. Yeah, and we're going to be talking about all those things and also how to really create and build out a launch that brings you money. Isn't that great? As a female entrepreneur, like we're spiritual, we care a lot, we're service-based, but it's like we also deserve abundance and a flow of energy through that. And we're also going to be talking about how to attract high value clients, because I know when I first started out, it was kind of a struggle because I didn't know how to really speak about my offering in a way that really conveyed the transformation and the desire that my clients really wanted. And so yeah, we're going to get into it today.
Yeah, I can relate to that so much. I didn't know how to max my launches in the past. I always felt like I was throwing spaghetti at a wall and just kind of hoping that whatever I posted would get me clients. And I had a tendency to speak to the lowest hanging fruit, for lack of a better term. So I started out in trauma, as you know, and I was like, the more traumatized you are, the better. If you have like the most extreme forms of trauma, this is the program for you. And there was nothing wrong with serving those people. It just felt like it wasn't necessarily the kind of client that I wanted to continue to serve as my business evolved. And I learned how to speak to those people in large part through the methods that we're going to be sharing today.
Yeah. Yeah. And I feel like that speaks to something that we were talking about before this podcast, which is that when you are a baby beginner entrepreneur, you tend to sell your program or your offering, and you tend to sell the process almost. And then you graduate to the next level, and then you learn. Typically, the way that I learned was through these kind of bro marketing strategies. And then they're like, sell the problem, sell the pain point, speak to their pain point. Yeah, which is probably what you were accidentally doing. And you're just like, you're speaking to their pain. And it also makes sense because we want to solve people's pain. Like we're like empathetic people. We're in this industry because we care. And so it's an easy mistake that we can make is just speaking to the pain. But then you graduate to the third level, which is you learn how to speak to the transformation and the desire.
That's like the greatest level of mastery when it comes to entrepreneurship. I really think that you highlighted something powerful, which is the easiest way to market is to speak to people's pain points, but it's not always the best and it doesn't always feel the best.
Yeah. And then also you end up bringing clients in who are really focused on their problems and they're really focused on their pain and they're in that. And when you can speak to their desire and their transformation, they come in and they're already seeking, like they're solution oriented people, like they're seeking a solution and they're right there. And so I agree. It's the ninja level.
Yeah, the ninja level of mastery. And that's what we're here to support listeners with today. Should we do a little intro before we go any deeper into our launch secrets and mistakes?
Let's do it.
Okay, cool. So I'm Bela. I am a spiritual teacher and a women's empowerment mentor. I love teaching about so many different things, especially ancestral healing and femininity. And some stats from my business, I've made $2.6 million in the last 4 years, which is crazy. I have supported thousands of clients all over the world. I've helped big entrepreneurs 3x their income. And I'm kind of like your marketing and creative whiz or visionary when it comes to what Ashlyn and I have created in the medicine that we're here to share with you guys today.
Yee. And I'm Ashlyn. I've been in the coaching industry for 8 years now, which is wild to think about. I have worked with hundreds of clients, and I really feel like my gift is building a business that is really aligned with my life and that's like very body first, and very just coming from my creativity and my femininity. And a lot of the ways that I'm able to do that is because I have the systems to back me up. I feel like I have a system for everything. Like I have a Google Calendar system. I have a system for even my friends' birthdays. Like I have systems for content creation. I have systems for tracking pretty much everything. And I have founded and co-produced a music and wellness festival for this will be our 5th year, which is wild. And it has all been possible through just learning systems and delegation. And it's been really fun to weave my femininity into it and make it really fun. And that is what we're excited to share more, because we really believe that launching can be fun, and we've been able to experience that. And in that overflow is what inspired us to create this program.
So one thing that I love that you shared that I just want to speak to you, because I've invested over $200,000 in mentorships. I have invested $25K plus alone in just getting my business systemized. I was calling it in for so long, and I felt like I was just being given these really rinse and repeat systems that were often way too complicated and often caused me to lose income or just waste time doing things that were unnecessarily complicated. And so when I met you, it was this massive blessing, because while I have the creative and like fire and the understanding of how to market through words, I am creative chaos. And Ashlyn is so feminine in the way that you move through life is so feminine, and the systems that you have are just simple and clean, and they're easy for people who are not system oriented like myself to implement. So yeah, I'm excited to dive into it.
Yeah, I feel like we should even touch on like what even is a system. You know what I mean? Like it's like, what is a system? And I feel like what it is it's typically taking something that you're doing over and over again, you're putting a lot of energy and effort into, and you are creating a system around it that is repeatable, and it basically saves you time and potentially money, resources, because you're able to repeat it over and over again. And it's also really helpful when you have teams, and if you ever want to hire people, you systemize everything and you make it really easy to delegate and take things off your plate. And that's really the goal of where we want to get to, is that we have systems that are easily repeatable.
I think one of the biggest mistakes that people make with systems is the overcomplication. And specifically the way that you do systems speaks so much to me, because it's all about simplicity, and it does save so much time and energy.
Yeah, I love it. Well, let's talk about, okay, so we want to share some of the steps that we have taken and really built out that can help you have a really, really successful launch. And when we say launch, you can use this to launch a retreat, a program, a course. You can launch
anything
a
online,
podcast,
really.
like literally anything, and you can use it over and over again. You don't have to this is not just if you just first launch your business. This is like, you can use this, again, it's a system that is repeatable that you can use over and over and over again. And so, yeah, let's talk about some of the steps that people just need to take. Like what makes a launch epic and successful?
I think we should start by talking about messaging, because masterful messaging is essential to having a successful launch. There are so many successful entrepreneurs, spiritual teachers, creatives, visionaries that I meet out in the world, and I experience the level of power and magic that they bring. And then it's not conveyed on social media. It's like when I see their social media, I'm like, wow, no one knows how powerful this person is.
I know exactly what you mean.
It just makes me want to teach them about messaging, because it's the most important thing when it comes to the foundation of how to convey your value online. And ultimately, I think a lot of times people are building these courses or these programs or these offerings, and they're selling the product or they're selling the pain points, but they're not really speaking to the values, the desires of the clients, and even, you know, conveying what the deliverables of their program are. People might not even know exactly what they're getting out of it
Yep.
or what they're going to learn by the end of it.
Yep.
And there are these really beautiful proven frameworks based in sales psychology, direct response marketing that you can use and that you can implement so that you, without a doubt, are communicating as clearly as possible so that your ideal client can make a decision and know easily if your program is for them or not.
Yeah, and I just want to say this too, like whenever I heard like sales psychology and business and marketing, like my little feminine body would just like like just contract. But what I realized is that all, if you really break it down, all marketing and sales is connection, and it is relationship building. And guess what? As women, we're amazing at that. We have such empathy. And so when it comes to messaging, people typically buy with emotion and then they back it up with logic. And so you need a bit of both in your launch in order to really make it powerful and effective. And so one little tip that's just coming to mind, and then we can speak more into messaging, is really tapping into the energetic of your offer. Like how do you want your ideal client to feel? What is the transformation? You can like literally pick, I do this, like I will pick songs for my offers and I will listen to them and flow into them. And then really it helps you like tap into this energy of it gives it life. And so I like to like, let's start, it's nice to start there. And then it's like, then you can get into the nitty gritty because when you get in that, when you drop into that like somatic experience of your ideal client and what they're going through and what they really want, then when you answer the questions around your launch and answer some of these messaging prompts, which is some of the things that we share in our program, then it just becomes really, really easy. And that way you're flowing with your creativity and your femininity, and then you have the structure as well.
Yeah, it's important to know. It's important to have an understanding of what your ideal client needs to know in order to understand fully the depth of what you offer. But within your knowing of what you have to share, there's so much freedom to express it in a way that's true to you.
Yes.
And I like to think of it as like the structure that then can create your creative flow. It almost creates this like bumper rail, this like safe container for your femininity to flow and for your creative expression to really flourish without it being contained. It's almost like it can spill out all over the place and then it's not really clear. And so it helps people feel that forward momentum of, oh, I understand where this is going. And this creative expression is taking me on a journey instead of just kind of moving me through someone's emotional process.
Okay, so this is a great time to talk about AI because I feel like this is the future. And as founders and business owners, we need to be tapped into the future and where things are going. And so it's kind of, I feel like AI is a little bit of a controversial topic, but we were talking about it earlier and I was like, I've never had resistance to it. Like I was just stoked.
And I have.
Yeah, I feel that. So we can kind of speak to that.
Yeah.
But I feel like it's like the chat GPT can be just the synthesizer and the masculine structure for those feminine, creative, juicy ideas.
I agree. And I think that we teach AI, we teach masterful messaging, we teach everything that we're talking about today in our program, the Effortless Launch Blueprint. It's everything that's helped our businesses go to the next level. And I also think that when you're teaching someone how to use AI the way that we use it, ethics are really important. To me, they're really important because I'm an artist and I'm a writer. And I don't think that AI should be the source of that raw creative process that needs
Absolutely
to come
not.
through you, because art is the expression of your soul. So it has to come through your soul or else it isn't art. However, AI and ChatGPT can support you in refining, in containing, in being that masculine structure, and in just holding the system so that when you're tired and you only have so much creative energy to give, you can put it towards the things that actually matter to you instead of having to like then create a content breakdown of when to post about what topic. You should still be
Yeah.
creating your content topics and you should still be sharing your unique voice, but AI helps you to structure it, and that's how we use it.
Yeah, think about all the times that let's say you're planning a launch and you're like, wait, like, okay, the dates, like and then you're like
When does early
calculating, like,
bird
wait,
end?
yeah, when does, or like, are we doing an early bird? When does that end? And like, how many days should that be? And then
Yeah.
wait, like, what? Oh my God, and it's like, that just hurts my brain
Yeah.
so much. And I just don't feel like it's like, let's use something that is really good and
Yeah.
analytical and logical
Mhm.
to help us with that so
Mhm.
that we don't get burnt out by all those little decisions.
Yeah. Ashlyn and I spent around 40 hours training 2 different AI GPTs, 2 different chatbots with everything that we know about business, which I regularly have to revisit because I forget it because I don't really care about it. Although I know that it's supportive and it helps me in my launches, I forget. Like one of the things that one of our GBTs does is it asks you, what kind of incentives would you like to add on to your program? Do you want to do an early bird offer? Do you want to do a masterclass? Do you want to do a bonus? And so it lays them all out for you and it gives them to you in order of which ones have been proven to be the most effective. And so it just has all of this knowledge for you. It's kind of like having a really high level executive assistant so that you just get to make the choices and stay in the director role.
Yeah, it's the best. And it's like, even though we can, again, sometimes cringe at these things like an early bird or like in marketing incentives, it's like, it's just like something to embrace because I try to look at those things as instead of like icky or salesy, it's transformative because you are actually helping someone take the first leap into investing into
Mm-hmm.
themselves and actually transforming their lives potentially. And some people could be investing in themselves for the very first time.
Mm-hmm.
And these are ways that support them in making that decision
Mm-hmm.
quickly and easily.
Mm-hmm.
Because a lot of limiting beliefs come up when
Yeah.
you go to invest in something.
It's so interesting because I think I've spent so much money and time and energy investing in myself at this point that I don't feel any resistance when I see people posting early bird special. I'm like, great,
I don't
cool.
either.
I feel ready to go and I love a deal.
I
We
love it.
love
We
deals.
love a deal.
We love a deal.
We love
Ashlyn
a
and I
deal.
just bought IV, buy one, get one free because we love IVs and we love a deal. And we also believe in pouring into ourselves.
Yeah.
And sometimes the best way to move through that resistance that you feel and that ick that you feel is actually to lean into it. Like, I
Yep.
think the best way to move through resistance towards the solution that you want is to just give it a go and to surrender to someone's leadership and do your research, make sure that they have the solutions you're looking for. But it's super empowering
Yeah.
to make that kind of decision.
Yeah, and I always say this especially with business things, you're going to encounter things that you have to do in business that make you feel a little uncomfortable because it's coming up against a growth edge for you. And typically there's some weird belief behind that is probably from childhood around money or sales or something, right? And there's a difference between feeling uncomfortable but knowing that it is going to grow you
Yeah.
and actually truly feeling like in your heart, in your intuition, in your soul that something is actually just not right for you.
Yeah.
And I think that a part of being a feminine entrepreneur is getting really attuned to what that is for you.
Yeah.
Like, does this truly feel like it aligns with who I am and the business I want to run? Or is this something feels a little edgy, feels a little uncomfortable, but I know that it's going to help me grow and it's going to help me hit my goals.
Yeah. Integrity is so important when it comes to business. That's something that I love about our friendship and our coworkership. I feel like we move with a lot of integrity. Even when we were creating ELB, we did a test run where we did all these giveaway spots to people that we thought were ideal clients in exchange for feedback. And we really got to know what they thought the value of our program was before we priced it so that we could price it in a way that would be like super high value for people. So, you know, there's nothing icky about sales if you stand by the value. And personally, the amount of time that our system and that our blueprint has saved me, and you know, it's made launching like fun. I'm in my creative content queen era. And that's like what I enjoy the most as a creative. It's invaluable to me and to my business, you know?
Yeah. Yeah, I love it. We love our little ELB baby.
Yeah. Yeah. And something that's so cool about ELB is that we take you through how we actually use each step of our system, of the GBTs, of the prompts. We even give it content examples of like how we would respond to a prompt and how we have responded to prompts to then like, you know, convey our message and our story. And it's really fun to also get that behind the scenes. I think that's what I craved the most when I was in the building era of my business and it started
Yeah.
blowing up beyond capacity.
We
So
love
can someone
a
just
BTS.
show me behind the scenes of how they do it so that I can
Yes.
then figure out my own process?
Yeah, it's the
Yeah.
best. It's
Yeah.
like, yeah, we're literally like we used our own blueprint for this launch, which is great. And we're showing you exactly how we did it.
Yes,
and
if
it's
you-
really cool.
If you check out the landing page, you'll see kind of how what our final product was, and it was super beautiful and super fun and the least stressful, you know, creation process I've ever had. And that's doing it with someone else. And I think that in
Yeah.
general, working with another person is not usually so easeful, but it has been very easeful. Yeah. I would love to talk a little bit about content that converts. That's something else that I think is incredibly important for anybody, any entrepreneur that works online. It's oftentimes what actually allows people to have a successful business or not. You know, just speaking for myself, I grew I grew my following to over 200,000, I think 218,000 people on Instagram and like 17,000 on TikTok. And I rely entirely on organic marketing for all of my sales. Most of my sales come from Instagram stories and from posts.
Yep.
And
Me too.
so understanding how to create content that converts to me it's kind of what moves the needle forward. And there's so much that I could say around this. There are so many different formulas and styles of posts that we teach that are rooted in psychology and that are also rooted in storytelling and artistry. And, you know, I think that the most powerful one that I could speak to is learning how to really tell your story of
Yes.
what allowed you to become the person that your clients should trust to support them in their journeys.
Oh my God, yes.
Yeah.
Yeah, because if you think about it, your ideal client is where you used to be and they want to be where you are now. And then your program is essentially the bridge for that. And so if you can show people where you came from and what you learned in the process and then where you are now, it's just the best.
Yeah.
And then you're literally making a business out of who you are and an extension of your journey.
And sometimes people just need really great prompts to know what stories are going to relate back to what they teach and going to sell their programs directly and indirectly. I also want to talk a little bit about content mistakes because we offer so much gold when it comes to the right kind of content that speaks to the soul. It's the thing that I get commented on the most on Instagram is like, I just keep coming back to your page because your page actually inspires me and because I share from the heart. But I'm actually using these prompts to support me in kind of funneling my creativity so that it actually supports people and serves a purpose. But when it comes to some of the biggest content mistakes that I see is people are very focused on delivering information, like 5 ways to heal your inner child, 5 ways to XYZ. But I believe that now that information is so widely available, you can just ask ChatGPT.
Yep.
Nobody really cares about that. People want to know what makes you the expert on this topic. How did you earn your stripes to be teaching about this? You know?
Yeah. And literally the way to change that into something that would be really impactful is instead of 5 ways to heal your inner child, it's like, here are 5 ways that I healed my inner child. Like that is a subtle shift, but all of a sudden I'm paying more attention because I'm just interested in how you actually did it. It's such a little tiny shift, but
here's my pain and here's what I did with it. And I believe that social media is requiring, like if people want to be successful entrepreneurs that use social media, it's requiring a new level of authenticity and vulnerability that was not the standard before. And if you learn how to do that, it's going to really magnetize the right people. And it's something that you and I have both seen in our launches. The more that we're sharing our personal experiences and our personal unique thought processes around something, that's when the clients are flowing in.
Yeah. Absolutely. Yeah, and I feel like it's like the whoever's listening to this, it's like our ideal client, like they have the juice. Like you have the juice, you know? Like you are creative and you have all of that magic inside of you, and all that needs to happen is just synthesizing it in a way that allows people to trust you and understand you and want to buy from you and want to learn from you and want to transform with you.
A lot of that is just learning how to be more clear.
Yeah,
as a creative, I do not write creatively the way that I write for social media because there's a word limit and I have to get a point across. And that point is more important than my artful use of language, which maybe comes from a little bit more of an egoic place. So learning how to actually be as clear as possible is essential. And there are really awesome, clear strategies that allow you to stay in your feminine and do that. I would also love to talk a little bit about visibility wounds, because I think one of the biggest things that stops people from posting content in the sea of content that is out there now, as everyone tries to become content creators, is this fear of being seen.
Yep.
And I think that one of the biggest things that keeps you from letting yourself express yourself and from being fully seen is this fear of being judged. And what I want you to know is that when you're afraid of being judged, it's because you're already judging yourself. And so if you want to feel accepted and seen in the world, it starts by just giving yourself that approval that you stand by what you're sharing. And when you really stand by what you're sharing, it's going to be so much easier to be visible and to allow people to see you.
Bars. I love it. And I'll back it up with my it's like my just funny accountability, like give you just the basic wisdom is like, just take action. Like just do it. Like you just actually, it's like energetically shift that. And then just, you have to practice. Like you have to practice. And I think one thing a little tip that I started doing is every time I would post, I would close my eye. Like I would hit post and I would notice like negative or like anxiety come up, because I'm like, oh my God, judging. People are gonna think I'm stupid. No one cares, And I just would place my hands on my heart and take a few deep breaths and basically try to retrain my nervous system that sharing and being visible is safe. And those little somatic cues can be so insanely beneficial, and you can actually retrain your nervous system by just breathing through those feelings and being like, it is safe to be seen.
And so true. I have had to face so much discomfort in becoming someone who posts as much content as I do. I think that being an online entrepreneur brings up all of your deepest shadows around worthiness and being seen and being accepted. And if I could give advice to anyone listening, it would be comfortable making mistakes, be comfortable being cringy. And the more comfortable that you are making mistakes and being visible in it, the more confident you're going to get. And my little equivalent practice is whenever I post, I will rub my hands together, hold them over my phone, and just imagine that anyone who needs what I'm sharing is reached by my post. And then when I'm done posting, I will imagine that a vault is locking in my subconscious so that I cannot feel the projections of others, because I've gone viral many times.
Oh, I love that.
And I will feel it energetically. Like people are judging me, people are shaming me. And it's such a small mindset shift, but it really, really helped me to just not really care.
I love that.
One last tip that I have for anybody who's really trying to make content out there, and we talk about this extensively in our Effortless Launch Blueprint, we really teach about it in depth, is that your passion is way more important than production. Passion is way more important than production, meaning the quality of your content. If you have the high-res videos, if you have the fancy mics, that does not matter nearly as much as your excitement being felt through what you're sharing online.
Yep. Going back to the embodiment piece.
Embodiment, baby.
Embodiment. I love it. Okay, so let's keep flowing through the launch framework.
Yeah.
So we talked initially about messaging, so writing copy that converts. We talked about writing or creating content that converts. We talked about visibility.
And AI.
We talked about AI and some systems.
Mhm.
So I feel like the last piece is really just having the systems. I feel
Yeah.
like we've said systems 5 million times
That's
in this podcast.
that's
I love it.
okay.
I love it, but
They're so important.
we're passionate about it right now.
Yeah.
So really the last step pulls it all together. We're just girls.
We're just girls.
We're just girls in business. We're badass.
Yeah, we are.
But we're at the same time,
But
we're
we're
just
also
girls.
just girls.
Yeah.
And gremlins.
Yeah. And actually, I feel like low key, that's the best thing that you can do to release pressure on yourself to be this like perfect businesswoman is just like, I'm just a girl.
I'm just a girl.
Yeah.
And I'm going to honor my little girl and have fun with it.
Yeah.
And play.
Exactly.
Yeah.
It's kind of nice.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think our systems are fun. Like,
yeah.
Ashlyn, I love when Ashlyn finds a new system because she teaches it to me. I didn't even know how to use Google Cal.
That blows my mind, Bella.
Built a 7-figure business, literally never used Google Calendar. And Ashlyn now time blocks all the things that we have to do together, and it's amazing. And it sounds like it would be overwhelming, but the way that she teaches systems is actually so spacious and so feminine. And yeah, tell us a little bit more about how you like to systemize.
Yeah, let's talk systems. I love it. So first things first, if you feel like you're not following through, it's not that you lack follow through. It's just that you don't have a simple way to actually do it, to show up and do it. And so that's where the systems come in. And I think a big piece of it is creating a bit of a brain and an organism outside of your own brain so that you can relax. I remember I used to have my whole calendar in my head. I used to have all my content ideas. Some are in my head, some are in my notes app, some are in Google Docs, and so then when you go to create, then you're just like, wait, where was that idea? Where was that photo? Where was the link to that interesting reel that I wanted to remake? Like, they're all over the place.
Where are the videos for content that I want to use? She has a video folder system as well.
I have a video folder system. And so, like, where is everything? And then it just like creates so much resistance to actually doing the thing. It's like, make it easier for yourself. Treat yourself like you're just a girl and you need the organization. And so for me, the way that I approach systems is like, if I find myself feeling disorganized, if I find myself repeating myself over and over again, if I find myself coming up against like, there's like this contracted feeling where I'm like, ugh, like, wait, where's the thing? And da-da-da-da-da. And
forgetting steps.
Yeah. And then I'm like, okay, I need a system. And you can have systems for, it doesn't have to be just in business. It's like, you can have systems for everything. Like a very simple example of a system is I started to realize that I had a huge community and everyone has birthdays. And how the heck am I supposed to remember everyone's birthdays? There's like 70 people, And I'm someone that really cares about wishing people happy birthday and like making people feel seen. And so I created a system, and the system is super simple. It is just every time it's a new person's birthday that I hear about it, I put it in Google Calendar and I have it repeat every year. And I have it on its own calendar that's called Friends and Birthdays. So it's separate than my personal and my business, so I can turn it off if I want to. And then it just repeats. And then again, it literally frees up so much energy and space because it's just on repeat. And that's like, you can do that with everything. Like, that's such a basic example, but I just say that so that you can create that for everything.
Something that I love about you, just a little reflection as your friend, is that you take such good care of your nervous system, and all of your systems are created with that in consideration. I can feel that every system that you've taught me has been created from a place of deep self-resourced relaxation. And so when I'm using these systems, I don't feel wound up or stressed or like there's a million things for me to do. And I think that's something that really stands out from a lot of the business coaches and, like you said, like the bro coaches out there who are like, you just have to do a million things and be super intense and be yelling at the camera. And, sometimes you really do need to slow down to speed up, and taking the time to create systems, to implement systems that once you create, you never have to create again, that are actually sustainable and going to be long lasting, which is another thing that I would say about your systems is they feel like they will stand the test of time and I don't need to constantly update them, which is amazing.
Yeah.
It's so important to take that time to pre-plan your launch, to have a system that's going to organize everything for you. My God, I used to be like what you were describing about having my ideas in the phone notes app and voice recordings and like in my Google Docs, and then just not knowing where something was. And then I would spend 2 hours looking for that content idea instead of actually just creating the thing. So
Yep.
if there was one thing I could reflect to you is I think you really have these systems that allow you to spend as much time as possible honoring your body, taking care of your feminine flow, taking great care of yourself, and also just creating.
Yeah. And if anyone knows human design, I'm a projector. So I'm all about efficiency. And yeah, like you said, everything, all of the systems that were created was just like, okay, see a need, fill a need kind of thing. And the desire to just have more time and energy and not worry about those things. And I also just want to speak to you and I both, like I would say, I would not categorize myself as like the most organized person like in my day-to-day life. Like I lose stuff. I'm just a girl.
I know,
I'm not
it surprises
always
me.
I know Bella surprises I'm organized with everything else. But like, yeah, my timing isn't
We're
great.
organized in the ethers and the meta, and we're very disorganized in the human.
Yeah. But then when it comes to business, I'm very organized because I like really care about my work and I want it to be super high value. And so and I say that because I again, like I want to relate to someone who is listening to this that's like, I'm not a systems girly. Like I'm not organized. Like I don't know if I can use these things. Like you can use these systems we've created because again, it was born out of me. Like actually not being like, I'm not a Virgo. I'm not like actually super organized. It's like it's been created from a need. So you can trust that the systems that we are sharing they're simple, they're easy, they're for the feminine. Like and they're not anything more than what you actually need. They're not overwhelming because again, I've done Notion, if you're not on Notion and you're listening to this, it's an amazing software and we share a lot about it in our program, and we have literally done for you templates created. And I've been on this program or software for probably 5 or 6 years now. And I started out being overwhelmed. I had no idea how to use it and then quickly found it to be very intuitive. But I had borrowed different templates from people and they were all just like almost too complicated. So then I didn't use the system. And so then I was like, all right, scratch all this shit. I'm just going to literally create them from exactly what I need and nothing more. Nothing complicated.
I can echo that because I'm very resistant to change, especially in my business. It's my baby. I like to do things the way I like to do things. I hired someone to do this whole back end organization on Notion for my business, and I just couldn't get behind it because it was it was so complicated,
overwhelming,
and I was really overwhelmed, and it was just changing too much all at once. And then I remember when we started masterminding, you were like, Bella, just make a copy of this. And what was great is Ashlyn had a content calendar and she shared it with me, and I know so much about content and marketing and prompts and the different types of stories and the different types of reels and static posts that you can make. And I have a really good understanding of that. And this system allowed me to then just infuse all of my understanding and organize it in a way that we could both use it. And so we just kept refining together. And, I think that's definitely a reflection of our sisterhood, but also just like two very different brains coming together to create the most optimized approach.
Everything has been refined. Like it's like, okay, here is this system that I have, and then Bella uses it and she's like, okay, here's how to make this better. And then she gives it back to me, and then I'm like, ooh, now I have more ideas. And then we make it better, and we've really refined it.
I feel like I expand and add all of this complexity to it. That's amazing, but it's messy. And then Ashlyn, she smooths it out for us again, and then it's really good. And so I think this is something that we could have only created together, and we felt, I don't really teach business. It's always been something I shied away from, but it's something that people have asked me for so long. And I think this is the first time that I felt really, really excited and confident to share something that has just been so transformative for my business.
So step by step in your launch, you need to nail down your offer and your messaging. You create content that converts. You use tools like AI to just synthesize and help you map out your launch, all those little technical decisions. And then step 4 is you just pull it all together with the systems and you actually are organized, you have a plan, and you don't feel like you're just rushing through your launch and you're like, wait, what do I freaking post? It's like you know exactly what to do and you have like your own little business hub that you can work off of and you can feel really, really confident. It builds a lot of confidence. You feel really legit. And so, yeah, moral of the story, if you want to just be a girl and let the systems be daddy.
Let the systems be daddy. That's been our mantra because that's how we feel. Ashlyn and I are so happy getting to just be girls.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I think that one last thing that I'll say is that when you're buying something, it shouldn't feel like someone's selling or shoving something down your throat. It should feel like you're being invited into a party. So hopefully you can feel our energy and the vibe that we bring to this container and just how much care we've poured into it. And as a thank you for listening, because your time is the most valuable resource that you have, and we're so grateful that you spent it with us, we would love to offer you $300 off of the Effortless Launch Blueprint. It's normally priced at $12.97, but if you use the code podcast at checkout, it'll be $9.97. And we hope that you love it as much as we've enjoyed creating it and teaching it. It's truly such a blessing and it's a gift that keeps giving.
Yeah. And if you have any questions about launching, messaging, content, about ELB, the program, feel free to DM either one of us and we're happy to talk through it with you. If you are like, I am thinking about this, I'm interested, but I have a question about this or I'm worried about this. Like, we're happy to talk through anything with you with zero pressure. And something that we should just speak to is, does someone need to have a big following in order to have a really successful launch?
Actually, no. They've actually studied that the more followers you have, the less engagement you tend to get, the less your audience overall sees it. And I've grappled with this. Like, I don't actually want my account to get much bigger because I want to nurture my community. I don't want just a lot of like people who like kind of surface know who I am. So I don't think it's important. What about you?
No, I agree. And I think, when we first even tested this with a group of people for our workshop, we tested it with people who literally had 500 followers, 2,000 followers, 3,000 followers. And I've never had a big following and I've been using these systems and strategies and it's worked super, super well for me. And I love intimacy and it's, if you can just really show up as an authority and you use these strategies and you speak your truth, it is amazing what you can do with like the tiniest following.
Absolutely.
Like I feel like it's a non-existent thing.
Yeah.
And of course, like you want to build your following because it just expands your reach and it expands your impact and you can make more money the more people that get exposed to you, but it is not the thing that is going to make or break your business.
Absolutely. And also like that's part of why we teach like effective content strategies, so that if that is a big goal of yours, you can use what we teach you, to serve your unique goals. It works for everybody, but it's customized to you because you're interacting with everything that we create so that it works for your unique goals. And we've gotten a lot of questions like, does this apply to retreats? Which yes, it does. And like, why are you using AI and how do you use it? And so hopefully we clarified some of those questions, but we're super open. And we also made an Instagram to just share our effortless launch content, and it's called Effortless Launch Blueprint, just like the program. So if you're interested in keeping up with what we're doing, how we update things, or just learning more about the program in general, you can head over to that Instagram and give us a follow.